Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
We are live on Facebook, by the way.
Hello, Facebook.
And, a lot of things happen in that mysterious wild world. But I was thinking, I think that was your first interview. It was a while ago, if you remember, on the field when you first came over. And I remember interviewing on the field and how you were kind of like, it was kind of way before anybody came out. What I loved is that how regimented you were. It's like, there was no deviation from that.
Still the same way.
Okay. And before we get to Yankee world, are you grieving? Is there a transition? How hard has it been to get into this world of media and journalism and broadcasting?
No grieving. I'm loving retirement. I miss hitting home runs. Everyone asks me, what do you miss? What do you miss? I miss hitting home runs. I'll miss hitting home runs the day I die, though. I don't miss going through injuries, surgeries, being away from my family. I don't miss the road trips. But walk-off home runs like last night. You miss kind of being with your teammates for those things. But it's just like the good thing. It's like high school or college. I mean, you don't miss the all-nighters or the tests. You miss all the fun and that kind of thing. So I'm enjoying it. Love working with ESPN. I mean, it's been one of the most fun experiences of my career, and being able to kind of go right from the field into the booth and do some things at ESPN has been a blast. So I'm having a great time.
Is there a hard part to that? Is this something that you've had to really work hard at? Because it's always nice to see you on the broadcast, but then what's going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, I try to be as natural as possible. I try to do the same thing to the fans now that I did when I played, which is tell the truth, be very honest. Sometimes when people don't like the honesty, hey, this team stinks right now, or this player stinks right now, or I stink right now. That's what you have to do in the booth, because as a player, we all see it. When somebody makes excuses or makes up stories, or you can see right through it. And it's got to be the same thing when I'm on ESPN. When I'm on ESPN, if I kind of dance around a subject, or someone asks me something, whether it's Carl Ravitch or one of our other hosts at Baseball Tonight, you guys know when I'm lying to you, or you guys know when I'm not saying the whole truth. And so I have a very simple kind of thing at ESPN is I do all my homework, I do all the statistics, I watch all the games, and then I tell you exactly what I think. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, it is what it is. I think ultimately we're entertainers, and whether you're on the field or you're in the booth or in the studio, we got to entertain, and I think we're doing that.
Is there a mentor over there? Somebody who's taking you under his wing, that you've kind of, showing you the way how to do this kind of thing?
I work with great people over there. The back of the office staff, the production staff's great. They give me everything I need. But Carl Ravitch has been just a great quarterback for us. He's the leader of Baseball Tonight, been at ESPN for 25 years. And he's become a very close friend, a guy that I lean on a lot of things. Whether it's, the first time I did the All-Star game or called the Home Run Derby, that was a little stressful, calling the Home Run Derby for the first time. But this year it was a lot more.
Why stress?
Well, because
the ball's going over the fence.
Well, if I said there's another home run, like you have to find a way to tell a story while someone's swinging a bat every 5 seconds. So it can't be a long-winded story. You can't say, "Wow, he really hit that one far." I mean, after 5 times, y'all are like, "Tex, say something different." So you really have to work at the Home Run Derby. Whereas when you call a game or you're just discussing highlights, it's just a reaction. But like I said, Carl has been great for me at ESPN.
What's going on at this time of year? The dog days of summer. It's injuries. You're anticipating the big dance coming, meaningful baseball, which is great. How tough is it to get yourself in line in this time of year?
This is a very difficult time of the year, and I think the fans understand it. So you have certain guys that are beat up. Giancarlo Stanton, right? Tight hamstring. He's fighting through some things, but he knows he needs to be on the field. He doesn't want to get hurt to where he's not ready for October, but he needs to be in the lineup. You got Gary Sanchez chomping at the bit. You've got Aaron Judge chomping at the bit. I mean, Aaron Judge is to a point where he said, I might come back not being 100%, which is very difficult. But that's how tough this is this time of the season where, whether you're a pitcher or position player, you want to win tonight, but you also understand that you have to be healthy enough for the postseason, because it does the Yankees no good to, win 104 games, lose the division by 4 or 5 to the Red Sox, and then not be healthy for the playoffs. So it's a tough spot right now, but I think Aaron Boone's doing a great job of making sure that he's giving certain guys enough time, but also pushing others that, hey, we need you to play right now.
But do you feel pressure when you're you're a high-priced free agent? Do you feel pressure like, hey, you got to get back on the field faster than really you want to get back on?
Of course. And, I had a very simple kind of MO when I played. If I could help the team, I'm going to play hurt. But if I'm actually going to hurt the team, if I go 0 for 4 with an error at first base because, I got a broken foot or I can't swing a bat, I'm not helping the team out. And so you have to figure out what is best for me and for the team and kind of weigh that thing. I don't want a pitcher going out there, playing hurt and giving up 7 runs in 2 innings. That does the team no good. I'd much rather have my pitcher say, hey, Booney, my arm's killing me right now. I need a little time off. I mean, I think CC Sabathia did it a couple weeks ago. His knee's killing him. I need 10 days off. He's in a pitch, and I bet he pitches great tonight. I mean, he's that kind of guy that he's been a veteran. He's been through it. He knows it's better for the team to go out there at 90 or 100% and win a game rather than just fight through something and get knocked around in 2 innings.
Why were you such a good first baseman? I mean, what goes behind being such a good fielder and a good first baseman? Regardless of your bat sometimes would waver, you'd struggle, or you're hitting well, the fielding was always primo. Why?
I think 2 reasons. One, I grew up as a shortstop, so I kind of had that footwork and the hands that a shortstop needs. Then I went to third base in college, and my first year in professional ball, I was a third baseman. But
were you like the best player in your neighborhood though, like far, like that? Kind
yeah.
Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, it's kind of how it works. I mean, I tell kids all the time, I mean, everyone wants to be a major leaguer. If you're not the best player in your team, you're not going to be a major leaguer. And I'll take it step after step after step. If you're not the best player in your town, or you're not the best player, I mean, unless you grow up in Florida or California or parts of Texas, maybe, that there's just talent everywhere. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. Every 3 or 4 years, somebody makes the big leagues from Baltimore. So it's not like, hey, I don't start for my varsity team, but I'm going to try to make it to the big leagues. I think it's one of the. I knew when I was a kid. I knew by my sophomore year of high school that I had a chance. But back to first base. So I grew up as a shortstop, third baseman, and then when I got to the big leagues, Buck Showalter told me, "Hey, listen, if you make the plays, we can ride you if you have slumps. Every hitter goes through slumps, but if you have a slump and you can't play first base or you're making errors, you're getting sent down to the minors." I mean, that's the fact of the matter. So I worked my tail off at first base, and it took me a year or two, but I won my first Gold Glove in 2005, my 3rd season, because I worked at it, and I took pride in my defense because I knew that my infielders across the diamond were better. If I worked at it, I knew my pitcher was happy when I made a couple scoops or a couple nice plays down the line for him.
I believe you could either have faith or fear. You can't have both at the same time. Are you fearful or faithful with this Yankee team? Tell us what we should be faithful about and fearful about.
Let's do fearful first, just because
we're Yankee fans.
Yeah. Well, but let's get that out of the way. You got to be healthy. I'm a little worried about Judge's wrist. I know after having wrist surgery, if you don't have your hands, I mean, this is a big, strong guy, but the last thing you need to hit are your hands and your wrists. If he doesn't come back soon, it might be tough for him to get into the groove because, again, it's not just him being out there. We want him to be Aaron Judge. He's one of the best players in baseball. You want him hitting 500-foot home runs and drawing his walks and getting big doubles. So I worry about his wrist. I worry a little bit when Sanchez comes back. What kind of Gary are we going to have? I mean, Gary, we all saw him, one of the best catchers in the game. I mean, this is a guy who was Babe Ruth his first 160 games in the big leagues, and he struggled this year. So what Gary is going to come back? A lot of people talk about the starting pitching, and I'm not as worried now in the starting pitching as I was a month and a half ago.
Why?
J.A. Happ. J.A. Happ is solid. I mean, this guy is, He's going to go out there. He's going to give you 6 strong innings every time out. And Tanaka, since he's come off the DL, has been awesome. And so I think Sevy's going to figure this out. I don't worry about Sevy. I think he showed last year that he could bounce back from a bad start in the wild card game and have a great playoffs. But the health is going to be an issue. What I'm faithful about is talent. Talent wins out in the end. And when you bring back Didi, he should be back soon. If Gary can be half the player that he was over the past few years, and Aaron Judge is healthy, this team is as good as anybody in baseball. Now, the Red Sox are pretty good. The Astros are pretty good. The Indians are pretty. All these other teams are great. So when it comes down to it in October, who gets hot? Right? that's what I'm hopeful for. But my faith is in the talent of this team, because top to bottom, this is as talented a team as anybody in the game.
Who's the couple players? Let's assuming maybe Judge comes back, maybe he comes back, maybe he doesn't. But who has to carry this team? Who has to step up and play better than they're playing?
Well, I don't think anybody has to carry a team. That's the great thing about baseball, is as great as Barry Bonds was for all those years, he never won a World Series. Ken Griffey Jr. I mean, you need tons of players around you to actually win a World Series. So not one player is going to carry the team. But who needs to step up? You look at a guy like Greg Bird. I have a lot of faith in Greg Bird, but right now he's losing at bats. He's got to show that he's going to, be on the upswing for the end of the season. So I think Greg Bird needs.
How do you fix that though? At this point in the season, he's got to be feeling a little down. Is it fixable?
I think it is fixable because, again, you go back to the talent. He's done it before. Now, consistently, he hasn't been able to do it because he's been hurt. But I have faith in Greg Bird. Okay. When he's healthy and he gets hot, he can be as good as anybody in the game. That short right field porch at Yankee Stadium was tailor-made for Greg Bird. It's very difficult to not have a full spring training, get hurt, come back mid-season. It's very difficult to get your rhythm. He just looks off. He's out front of off-speed pitches, a little bit late on fastballs. So I think if he steps up, that's just another weapon. At full strength, he might be a 7 or 8 hitter on this team. But that's a pretty dangerous 8th hitter, a healthy Greg Bird. So I want to see him step up. I want to see Gary, when he comes back, step up. Because, again, when Gary's right, when Gary's healthy, he's one of the best hitters in baseball. And he's a huge addition to this lineup. I think a guy like Neil Walker, we saw him last night, he can be that X factor in the playoffs, almost like a Ben Zobrist type player where, hey, if someone's either beat up or there's a matchup that maybe you don't like, he's a switch hitter. He can give you some quality at-bats. He showed last night that he can pinch hit in a big position, hit a home run to win a game. So I think you look at those guys right there. If they step up, this Yankee team's going to be tough to beat.
You think the expectation is just too high because we are over 30 games over 500? I mean, I think we all would have signed up for that come April. And now all of a sudden, maybe we're kind of pressing a little too hard on this team because they seem very tight in the locker room.
Yeah. But
maybe as fans and the media, maybe we're being a little too tough on these guys.
New York fans are never too tough on their athletes.
Nah.
Never.
Well,
but you bring up
here anyway.
You bring up a great point, though. In any other season, if the Red Sox were, having an average season or even a above average season, the Yankees would be in first place, and we would all be kind of riding high. We always compare ourselves to those around us, and in the AL East, the Red Sox have a 6.5 game lead right now. Yankee fans don't like that. I don't like that, But the Red Sox are really good.
Can we catch them?
Yes. I don't expect the Yankees to catch the Red Sox because they're so good and it's 6.5 games. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did, because one thing, the Red Sox haven't had their kind of tough time. You look at what happened to the Dodgers last year. They lost 16 out of 17 end of August, early September. And the reason I talk about the Dodgers last year is nobody would have expected that team, with how good they were, to lose 16 out of 17 during a season. I mean, it's almost impossible to do with how talented they were, and they proved their talent because they went to the World Series and were one game away from winning it. But my point is, if the Red Sox have any type of that little swoon in end of August, early September, the Yankees can catch them. But again, all that matters is if you can get into October, if you can win that wild card game, everyone's on equal playing field after that wild card game, and you got to get through that game.
2009. How special was that year? Tell me what were the aha moments in that year for you? I know that home run was a biggie. What were you thinking? How'd you feel? I mean, that was interesting the way that team kind of came together.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, it was the most fun year, top to bottom, that I had playing baseball because it ended in a World Series. And I think in New York, especially when we got used to winning championships a lot in the late '90s, 8 years without a World Series was a lot. And
we call that a drought.
It's a drought. And I think the fans got hungry in May and June. We got off to a slow start. Alex came back after his surgery. We started having certain guys step up. David Robertson became a guy. Phil Hughes became a guy. I mean, we had, Alfredo Aceves won like 9 games out of the bullpen. I mean, we had guys that you weren't expecting to step up. And, I think when we got to the All-Star break, we were 3 games down. And out of the All-Star break, we were gangbusters. And I felt like we couldn't lose. And once the All-Star break hit and that second half of the season, I said, we're winning the World Series because no one can beat us. Now, there might have been 3 or 4 other teams that said the same thing, but we believed it. In that locker room, we believed we were going to win the World Series because we were the best team in the big leagues, and we proved it over the long season.
Alex Rodriguez, best you've seen him play over a course of different situations. Best you'd seen him in that period?
Yeah, that playoff run was spectacular. Now, I played with Alex in 2003 in Texas when he won the MVP as a 27-year-old, and he was the greatest player on the planet. So I'd obviously seen him up close doing incredible things, but the big hits that he had in that playoff run were huge. Some big home runs, some big hits, and we needed it because we played really good teams those playoffs. I mean, the Twins, if we don't win that game 2 here at home in the division series, you got to go into the Metrodome, which anyone that's been to Minneapolis, that place was the loudest stadium in Major League Baseball. They had it packed out. There were like 60. They opened up the entire stadium. There were like 60,000 people. You couldn't hear yourself think. So if we go into Game 3 tied, right, into Minneapolis, we may not even get out of the division series. So you play the Twins, you play the Angels, which was arguably the second best team in all of baseball that year, and then you play the Phillies, who are the defending world champions. With Cole Hamels and Cliff Lee and Pedro Martinez and the big boppers in the lineup, we had to work for that World Series.
That
it wasn't
series
easy.
was a lot closer than we a couple things go a little weird in that game. It was very cold that night. I don't know if you remember.
Right? And that's the funny thing about
Game 7
in baseball. One little bounce or one pitch or one pop up that gets lost in the lights, those little things can completely change a series. It's almost like a turnover in football, right? I mean, if you play 10 Super Bowls that you played last year, Patriots probably win 5 and the Eagles probably win 5. If you play 10 of those World Series that we had against the Phillies, it might be 5-5, 6-4. I mean, that's how close it is. But that's what makes it so much fun. That's why I think people love playoff baseball, because every pitch counts. And that's why I love covering playoff baseball for ESPN, because we're fans. When we're watching the games together, we're fans, and then we get to talk about it afterwards.
Did you have a favorite ballpark that you love to go to and play?
Seattle. So when I was a visitor, the old Yankee Stadium was my favorite place. I mean, all of you have been to the old Yankee Stadium. Maybe not some of the young guys in here, but that place was special. The very first game that I went to old Yankee Stadium, I went to Monument Park. I got there early. I think I got there at like 1:30 for a 7 o'clock game. Got there early and walked around Monument Park. And then as I'm walking across the field, it dropped off. There was a little media entrance out there in left center field, and so you go to Monument Park and you walk all the way into the clubhouse. I'm like, man, I'm about to play Yankee Stadium. So as a 22-year-old kid playing for the Texas Rangers, that was pretty neat. But of the newer stadiums, Seattle.
Did you play well that game, by the way?
I don't even remember. Were you a
little spooked, or were you? So a lot of players.
I think it was probably Roger Clemens that got me more than I loved hitting in the old Yankee Stadium. I don't know what my stats were in the old stadium, but I remember my last home run, my last at bat in the old Yankee Stadium was a grand slam. Yeah. So it was the Angels against the Yankees, and hit like an 8th inning grand slam. That was my last.
I got to get on that. That's a collectible moment.
I have the picture framed in my house. Maybe we can work out a deal with Brandon and get a couple copies of that.
That's a moment that we got to take advantage of.
It was, but I'm in an Angels uniform though, so I'm not sure how much Yankee fans would enjoy that
about
one.
that. A quick question.
We'll superimpose a Yankee.
Spencer on Facebook. Which young players in baseball most excite you? Now I know you're going to say Trout and Harper, but give me a couple of
those guys are veterans now.
Yeah, that's true.
Those guys are older players. The young players, obviously Soto for Washington is impressive. You look at the two young guys for the Braves, Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna Jr. And the reason I like those tandems is because you guys know, when you look at young players and you start thinking of seeing them play together for years and years, you look at Jeter and Posada or Mo and Pettit, that excites fan bases. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of great all-stars that come up that are young players, but those two guys being on the same team, both being in their early 20s, I think that tandem is as fun of a group of guys to watch in baseball right now.
Would it surprise you to see Atlanta playing fall baseball in October?
They're going to get to the playoffs, I believe. I mean,
World Series.
I don't know who I like in the National League. I really don't. We talk about this with the Baseball Tonight crew all the time. I mean, the top 5 teams in baseball are in the American League. And that almost never happens. I mean, it's usually 3 and 2.
But do you have a favorite to win it all? Like somebody that just between us?
I think the Cubs, the Cubs are the best team right now in the National League. But in a month, who knows? I love the Daniel Murphy pickup. Daniel Murphy is one of these guys. He had knee surgery, and I had knee surgery middle of my career. Those things are tough to come back from. I mean, you hear football players that get clean up and they're fine. They play once a week. You can be super sore and get treatment for 3 or 4 days and kind of be ready for the next Sunday. Because we play every single day, knee surgeries are very difficult to come back from. And now that he's a few months off of that surgery, he looks good at the plate. He looks better in the field. He's running. So that is a huge pickup, I thought, for the Cubs.
Get hot.
The Cole Hamels pickup was huge for the Cubs. So if I had to put money on it right now, the Cubs are my National League team to beat.
Okay. We'll do some Q&A from the audience. Let's jump in. Yeah, jump in.
We'll go right here.
All right. Don't get mad at me. I love you.
All right.
How do I put this? We loved you and we loved your hitting. We didn't want you to retire. Why didn't you go to left field more?
I did. When I switch hit, I went to left field all the time.
You know what I mean. Batting left-handed. Do
you realize the difficulty of hitting an inside pitch to left field, and why do you think guys pull the ball? The best way to put up numbers, meaning doubles, home runs, runs scored, is pulling the ball with authority. It's just the numbers, and I'll put my numbers against anybody in baseball. Yeah, 400.
Are you a fan?
When was the last time someone hit 400?
Shifting? Are you a fan of the shift? Or do you get rid
I think
of it?
baseball would be more fun to watch if there wasn't shifting. This is why. When you have all of these statistics out there and all these metrics, which work, I mean, it's proven to work. Pitcher's going to throw you middle in. You're going to hit a hard ball to the right side of the infield, and you're out. So you go, okay, well, I have another choice. I'm going to try to hit the ball in the air because I don't want to hit a ground ball. Hard ground balls are outs now. So I'm going to try to hit the ball in the air. Well, what's that do? Makes your swing a little bit longer. You strike out more. You end up swinging harder. So we see a ton more strikeouts. We see, a lot less balls put in play. And I think if you had normal infield alignments, I think guys would be okay with hitting ground balls again. Ground balls are outs in Major League Baseball right now. And so I do believe that the game would be more watchable if you didn't have a shift because it would add to balls in play.
It drives me crazy is, you're seeing home and a shot right up the middle. You're like, oh, great. And there's a shift and the guy's right there. Drives me. And
well, I mean, listen, in football, you guys are all football fans, basketball fans. They have illegal motion in football. They have illegal defenses in basketball.
Yeah.
And you can't just put, people all over the field in football because it makes the game kind of funny. And I don't want to see baseball turn into a game where the only thing you try to do is hit home runs.
Are you feeling that a little bit now, though?
What do you guys think?
I'm feeling that.
I think a lot of games turn it. Now the Yankees have home run hitters, so it helps the Yankees. But I think a lot of teams, it's if they don't hit home runs, there's no way to win. And I just don't like baseball that way. I like seeing guys play defense. You know, I want to see Didi Gregorius make 5 great plays a night. He might get 1 or 2 balls now. You know, I'd like to see more balls put in play.
On your left.
Hi, Mark. You spent 14 seasons, I believe, in the major leagues, and you've been in a few different clubhouses. You were talking earlier, there's a lot of talented ball clubs out there. New York Yankees have one of them. How important, from a player's perspective, is chemistry in that locker room? And the reason why I ask it, because I think across the league, at least from my perspective, you don't see a lot of the passion, or maybe that's not the right word. You don't see the smashing of a Gatorade barrel on the bench. You see, there's lazy play in the field, and you don't see guys getting angry or slamming a bat or cracking a bat over the knee when they strike out. Is that real? Does that happen behind the scenes, and how important is that to a winning team?
I think you don't see that because there's cameras everywhere now. Guys are doing that inside. Guys are getting mad inside. There's definitely, but I think we learned really quickly when every game became televised and every ESPN, Sports Center was all over the place. Guys went behind the dugout and did that. So I think you do see that. I think winning breeds good chemistry. I've never been on a bad team where everyone's happy, because if you're happy with losing. If I owned a team or I was a general manager, I wouldn't want my players to be happy. I would want them to be fighting because they stink. If you're happy losing, go find a different team. So I think once you win, then you get that camaraderie, you get that chemistry. And listen, not everyone's best friends. I mean, name any business out there. There's no business out there with 50 guys in a room between the team and the staff where everybody's best friends. But this team and most of the teams that I was on in New York had very great chemistry because we all had the same goal, that was to win it all. And there are certain teams out there that if you lose year after year after year, if you don't ever make the playoffs, if you don't ever make a World Series, it's tough to have good chemistry because no one's happy and people don't want to lose. That's human nature.
You think about Paul O'Neill smashing that water cooler, and now, like we were talking about this about a month ago, it's on every blooper, people think he's just a lunatic that smashes water coolers. So, if you haven't never seen him play, it's just boom, 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 which is kind of funny. But when you explain that to his kids, who really didn't get to see him play, but they just see him smashing the water coolers, it's like, but we all get upset behind losing.
No doubt.
It's natural.
Next question right here.
Thanks. Hey, Mark, how's it going? When you first came to the Yankees in 2009, how good did it make you feel to win the Silver Slugger and the Gold Glove Award?
It was great because anytime you get signed as a free agent, you want to prove that the team made the right choice, right? And I think winning a Silver Slugger as the top position player in your the top first baseman in the league offensively, and also a Gold Glove defensively, that's from a personal standpoint, that's as much as you could hope for. And obviously from a team standpoint, winning the World Series, it's like you checked all the boxes. Now, one of the downfalls is now it's like, okay, well, we're going to do this every year. And it's not that easy. And I think we've seen that. I mean, the Yankees were a very good team last year. They didn't get to the World Series. This Yankee team expects to win a World Series. If they don't win the World, forget about getting it. If they don't win a World Series, everyone's going to be disappointed. I'll be disappointed. You'll be disappointed because we know how talented the team is. So, when you accomplish that your first year, it makes you feel great, but it also sets that bar so high. It's tough to keep doing it.
The last ball in 2009. You did have that ball.
I did. So so the last ball in 2009, I caught the ball, and actually when I caught the ball, I didn't even feel it touch my. That's how excited I was. I didn't feel it touch my glove. I actually, if you look at the replay, I actually looked down afterwards very briefly just to make sure that I actually caught the ball. But during the celebration, I put it in my back pocket and saved it that whole off season. Gave it to Brandon Steiner to put in a
Good idea.
shadow box.
Thank you.
And made a really nice shadow box. And then I presented it to Hal Steinbrenner because
very nice.
that ball's not mine. I mean, players that keep like equipment that whether it's a ball or whatever it might be from like it's not mine. That's the team's. That's the Steinbrenner family's ball. And so
My
I was
sentiments exactly.
yeah, I was happy to give it to
That was really
to
nice
Hal.
of you, but a lot of players don't do that, and I thought that was a special celebration for the Steinbrenner family, and for them to have that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean,
That was kinda
listen,
neat.
it's not easy to win a championship. It's just not. And there's 30 teams every season that want to win. When you're the last team at the end of the season, you got to thank your ownership because your ownership put you in that position. And so that was my small thank you to Hal Steinbrenner and
That's
the family.
cool.
In the middle here.
Hi, Mark. You've been a pleasure to watch over all these years.
Thank you.
Thank you. You read on and off or hear on and off of social and financial problems amongst professional athletes more often, in my experience, away from baseball. Do the Yankees or does baseball in general do anything to specifically help young players navigate those two problems?
Yeah, baseball tries, and I give Major League Baseball, and the Players Union a lot of credit because they try. But at the end of the day, every player is free to do what they want to do. You've seen documentaries and you read stories, and it breaks my heart to see somebody who realized all of their dreams by making it to professional sports, made some money and then either spent it all or invested it poorly or whatever it might be, and then they're left with nothing. So I think baseball does a good job, but I think we need to be more proactive, mentoring our young players, and there's positive reinforcement, there's negative reinforcement. If you make the league minimum but buy a multi-million-dollar house and have 6 cars, your money's going to run out pretty quickly. And so I think there's positive reinforcement from older players, but there's also older players that aren't doing the right things. And hey, come with me and let's buy a whole bunch of jewelry and a whole bunch of cars and start a bar and grill together. Those usually don't work out very well.
You've been a pretty good entrepreneur, though, in your own right. Who's been mentoring you, and a couple success stories? You jump into the business world a little bit.
I did. I was lucky enough. I went to Georgia Tech, which kind of gave me a great base of business and just kind of an understanding, how business worked. And then I met some very smart people during my career. And then also I was always very curious. And then I moved to New York with the smartest people in the world. They all come to work here in New York City. And I got to be kind of a fly on the wall in some meetings. And I got to ask questions to some of the smartest people in business. A lot of them are sitting, in the legend seats right now waiting to watch a game. And so through the Yankees and through different charity stuff, you meet people. And I tried to be a sponge. And then I invested alongside of some smart people. And, you have to be... you have to be very thoughtful of what you invest in as well. I never wanted to invest in anything that kind of was a poor showing on me or my family. So it was health companies and stuff for kids, and it's been fun.
That's cool. Your charity, by the way, are you still involved with?
Yes, Dream. Harlem RBI, which is now called Dream. And the reason we changed it from Harlem RBI to Dream is that we're now in the South Bronx and in Newark. So we know how proud we are of our team and our community. So it's Harlem RBI doesn't work in the South Bronx and Newark. But what we do is we have over 2,000 kids that we run after school programs. We have a charter school. We're opening up a new charter school in the South Bronx. So it'll be right down the street from Yankee Stadium. We're doing some great things for these kids, and I'm a big proponent of giving kids an opportunity. I had the opportunity to play baseball and go to school. Every kid should have that chance. Play sports and go to a good school. And unfortunately, there's not enough good public schools out there. And so we started a charter school a few years ago and are getting great results, and proud of a lot of our kids.
Cool. You're busy, man.
Of course, got to stay busy.
Love it. Good energy.
We have time for a couple more
more, okay.
questions. So
Couple more.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Good.
You were a great hitter, great fielder. But let's get away from baseball for a second. Has your golf game improved?
It has. It has. I've been working hard at it. You know, I think the cool thing about golf is, first of all, you're outside, you're competitive, it's social, you get to hang out with people, and it gives me enough of that competition where I'm trying to get better, but I'm not taking it too seriously. You know what I mean? Like, I want to get better, but it's not going to ruin my day. If I went 0 for 4 and we lost, I didn't have a good day. If I hit a couple balls sideways or miss a few putts on the golf course, it's still a good day. So I love golf, and I'm trying to get my kids to play a little bit because I want them when they get older to play. I actually played 9 holes with my 2 sons this morning, but it was hot out there today. We couldn't last much longer than 9.
What are the hopes you have for you? What are your hopes for you, your family? What's in the big picture? What you hope to have happen in the next 5-10 years?
Big picture. Well, it's all about my kids right now. We love it here. We love
Coaching them?
No. I know myself better than that. No coaching. I let the coaches do their thing, and I sit and I watch on the sidelines. My oldest is playing football right now, but I kind of live day to day. I mean, I try to enjoy my kids, and I try to enjoy my ESPN gig and watch baseball in the summertime and watch football in the wintertime and play some golf and just enjoy life, because I worked hard, grinded for a long time, and worked really hard, and now I'm just trying to spend more time with my family.
Regrets? Anything you'd like to do over or take back that you wish went a little differently?
Not really, because I had 100 times more success than I ever thought I was going to have. I mean, I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. Not a lot of kids made it to the big leagues from Baltimore, and the ones that didn't have 14-year careers and have the success that I had. So, do I wish we won a few more World Series? Of course. Do I wish I hit a few more home runs? Of course. But I can't complain about how things ended up for me in my career.
Cool. We'll do one more. We got one more.
We got time for 2 more.
Two more.
Here in the middle.
Go ahead.
Love that shirt, by the way.
I got it in the 2009 season.
I remember when they were selling them.
Yeah. Getting back to the shift, why isn't the bunt a more useful tool? Nobody talks about it, but I could see Phil Rizzuto eating that.
Yeah,
I could see him eating that up. If
Different-
it was taught more.
Different time. Yeah, it's very difficult to bunt. It just is. It's like people say, why couldn't Shaq hit more free throws? What, you don't think Shaq practiced free throws? I see guys in spring training practicing bunting over and over and over again.
So Rizzuto was a superstar at it?
Is the ball moving that much more, and is that harder to hit?
It's just a different time, and they wouldn't be if somebody got really good at bunting, the third baseman would just play up, and then someone would say, "Why are you bunting so much? You're making so many outs." The easiest answer to a question is usually the right one. And when you have a 94-mile-an-hour slider coming in at your hands, it's almost impossible to bunt. And again, if you did become such a great bunter that it was actually becoming a positive for you, they just play in on you. People say, "Why don't you throw a knuckleball? Those are really hard to hit." You ever try to throw a knuckleball? It's almost impossible. That's why there's only been a handful of guys in the history of baseball. I mean, imagine if Luis Severino throws 98 miles an hour. Imagine if he could also throw a knuckleball. You would never be able to hit him, but it's almost impossible to do. So bunting it's very difficult. Second of all, I don't think any of you want to come to a game where there's 15 bunts. It's just not that much fun. So I'm glad it's tough to do, and I'm glad it's not more of a part of the game. Because if it was, I think this game would be really boring.
Last question.
Hi, Mark. I'm curious as a mom about your opinion, about increased pressure in little leagues these days. My husband talks about the days when he'd get a group of his friends together. They had one ball, one bat, and everybody had a glove, and that was it. And now kids at 6 years old have batting coaches and catching coaches, and they're swinging $400 bats at little league games. And I'm just curious what you think about that and the impact of that on our kids.
Yeah, that's a great question. I say the same thing to everybody. If your kid loves it, let them play as much as they want. But forcing kids to play 100 games a year and forcing kids to go to batting coaches at 10 years old is crazy. I didn't have a hitting coach until college. He worked at Georgia Tech. He was my hitting coach at Georgia Tech. I didn't have a hitting coach, you know. I mean, 20 years ago when I was in college, you know, some people started talking about, oh, you can make money by teaching lessons to younger kids. It's a business. And I think all of this youth sports, and youth sports does some great things, but it is a business. And as soon as you create an opportunity for people to make money, then they're going to exploit it. And I think some of these kids get exploited. I think some of these kids do not enjoy playing they'd probably rather be playing backyard soccer or, you know, playing Frisbee in the park. But, you know, the parents get excited and you know, it just has created a bunch of kids that maybe aren't the happiest little leaguers out there. But again, if you love it, let the kids play as much as they want. And if they want to play every single day, then God bless them. They should be able to play.
Yankee season ticket premiums back there. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. I know I'm a season ticket holder myself. These guys are the best. They take such good care of you, and they take such good care of me. So thank you. Some of them in the back. Thank you. Mark, you seem like you're good. You seem like you're in a good place. I'm happy for you.
I always am, Brandon.
Well, thank you. I mean, you know, listen, it's not always that way. When I talk to former players, especially only a couple years out, you know, there's grieving and there's, you know, that loss of something you love. It's not easy to make that transition. I give you a lot of props for making a great transition. And I tell you, you've done, I always felt like, even when the first time I met you, probably could do almost anything you wanted to do. You know, I just kind of, I said, this guy could probably do almost anything. Boardroom, probably a CEO of a company. But, you know, to make this transition, especially from this kind of, you know, playing the Yankee Stadium is not easy.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon.
Congratulations, really.
And thank you, fans. I'm happy that you guys are all here. And, you know, keep with these guys. They're going to win 100 games. And even if they don't catch the Red Sox, like I said, once you get into the playoffs, everyone's 0-0.
I just want to make sure I got the quote correctly. You're predicting the Yankees to win the World Series this year. Did we not hear that?
I would love it. I would love it for a lot of different reasons. I would love for the Yankees to win the World Series, but
could happen though.
There's a lot of good teams out there, like we talked about.
All right, have a good night, everybody. Enjoy your baseball tonight.